Tonight only on CBS 12 News, pets are being surrendered to local animal shelters at unprecedented rates. At Big Dog Ranch Rescue, they're taking in 30 to 40 new dogs every week.
Yeah, volunteers believe it's an unintended consequence of the current housing crisis right here in Palm Beach County. Couple that with the rising costs of, well, just about everything. CBS 12's Stephanie Valderrama explains.
You want a belly rub?
Sweet Marley is an owner surrender. Founder and CEO of Big Dog Ranch Rescue, Lori Simmons, tells CBS 12 News Marley's family had to downsize because they could no longer afford their rent. That also meant having to cut back, and they could no longer afford to care for Marley. Marley's story is becoming the norm in Palm Beach County. Week after week, families are facing the tough choice to give up a member of their family.
One couple that just came in and surrendered their 2 dogs last week, they had a house, they were paying $2,800 a month rent. The new rent price is $4,200 a month, and now they're going to an apartment. The only thing they could find that was in their budget with 3 bedrooms doesn't allow pets, so the dogs had to go.
All of these dogs are new to the rescue. All owner surrenders in just the last few weeks. Simmons says the reasons, it's either the cost of higher rents or inflation.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, I can't imagine having to give up one of my family members and making a choice of whether to feed my kids and have a roof over their head or give up my dog.
Big Dog Ranch Rescue currently has more than 700 dogs at their no-kill facility in Wellington, but they are far over capacity. Owner surrenders are up 40% from last year and 50% from 2020. And while intake is up, adoptions are down.
Owners need to know that by surrendering your pet to a shelter, a county shelter, there's a good chance your pet's going to be put down because they're all busting at the seams.
Well, if you're someone who's struggling to buy dog food, for example, pick up the phone and call the folks here at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. They have plenty of resources that you might find helpful. And if you're someone who has the space and the love in your heart to open up your home, please consider fostering or adopting one of these beautiful dogs.
Is another COVID wave coming? That's the question CBS 12 News reporter Andrew Lofholm is asking tonight as cases rise here in Florida and around the country. He joins us live from JFK Hospital in Atlantis with the answer. Andrew?
Hey, right now at JFK Hospital, there are 3 COVID patients at last check. That is a far cry from some of the worst times during COVID. Now, yes, cases are on the rise, the first time that they've been rising since back in February, but there are more ways to fight COVID now than ever before. As COVID cases begin to creep back up, doctors like infectious disease specialist Klepper de Almeida are optimistic.
We've been through probably the worst part of COVID so far this year.
These are the latest COVID numbers here in Florida. This report now comes out every 2 weeks, and what it's showing is a slight increase week over week for the past few weeks. So right now, about 20,000 new cases. Compare that to a month ago in March, right around 8,000 what we're seeing a week. But compare that to early February, 42,000 new cases. Positivity rate here of those people taking COVID tests, how many are actually coming back positive? We're below 5%, going back all the way to late February. 5% is where health officials like to keep that number below, but the latest one, 6.1%. But perhaps the silver lining, you see it here, the vaccine number here jumping up over 100,000 in early April. Another indicator COVID is on the rise, our raw sewage says so.
What's curious is even if you're asymptomatic, before you know you have COVID, you're shedding virus particles. What better place to get one number that summarizes what's going on with COVID than a wastewater plant?
The latest numbers from the Loxahatchee River District shows it's more prevalent in our wastewater. And especially now where we are in 2022 compared to early on 2020, how COVID is treated, you guys know a lot more on how to deal with it. How important is having that knowledge in the bank right now when it comes to a potential new wave of COVID?
So that is what really has changed. Compared to 2020, this is a much different era.
Between COVID pills, monoclonals, and higher levels of immunity between previous infection and vaccines, the healthcare system can better handle a potential surge.
You all right, Sean?
Of the handful of COVID patients here at JFK, one of them is Tennessee police officer and father of 2 little girls, Sean Finn. He's been here since January.
Biggest, reason for doing all the physical therapy as hard as I have so I can get home to my girls.
So some good news to report for Officer Finn. We did that story about 10 days ago. We talked about their need for a private donor to come through for a private plane flight back to the Nashville area. Well, guess what? Somebody actually came through that private jet ride. He's going to be going home, leaving the hospital here on Wednesday. He'll be leaving that afternoon. We'll be sure to bring you that story on Wednesday.
A West Palm Beach man is under arrest in a startling case of neglect. Sheriff detectives say he kept his elderly disabled father locked inside his room for 8 months. CBS 12's Al Peffley joins us live tonight outside of Century Village near West Palm Beach. Al?
Thomas, elderly people deserve the respect from their children, but in this case, PBSO says a man kept his elderly father locked in his bedroom in absolutely filthy conditions with human waste and cockroaches and garbage all over the place.
I think it's horrible. They would have locked that guy up and take care of his dad.
Fred Gross and his wife Sandy are retirees, and they lived at Century Village near West Palm Beach for 5 years. He's stunned to learn that one of the residents, 22-year-old Jonathan Woods, allegedly kept his ailing dad locked up in his room for 8 months and had not given his dad food for 4 days.
Some people, I don't know, they're worse than animals.
It's terrible. It's heartbreaking, especially for your own son to treat you that way. Shouldn't have happened.
It's unbelievable. According to the arrest report from PBSO, a disabled man who lives at Century Village called 911, saying he had seizures a couple of days ago and that his son did not help him and that he had been locked in his room for approximately 8 months. He said he had had numerous strokes and was not able to walk. A detective wrote, "I observed feces covering the floor, bed, and every surface in sight. I observed garbage and cockroaches crawling all over the room, including on the bed. And when deputies helped the man, who was bedridden, get out of bed, cockroaches came out from underneath him and he was covered in feces and had bed sores." The man told a sheriff's detective he had called 911 because he could not take living the way he was living anymore. He stated he was afraid that he would die if he continued to live in the conditions he was living.
I would think in a community like this, with neighbors so close, we got to take care of each other and be mindful of our neighbors and what's going on.
The 211 helpline says people need to look out for their neighbors.
Just be aware of what you're noticing and trust your gut instinct that something's not right.
And if a caregiver feels exhausted or overwhelmed, they can call 211 to get help.
Before they get to the point of being overwhelmed, we want to engage them with resources and services to help them so that they can, do a better job in assisting that family member. And we were not able to get to Woods' unit because this is a gated community. Woods is behind bars being held on $50,000 bond, and he's set for a bond hearing in court tomorrow morning.